Okay, today's topic, that is first law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics. So listen carefully. So let us take a system. Let us take a system. Now I supply something heat energy to this one. Some Q heat energy is supplied, and some work is done on the system. So because of this supplying heat energy and work is done on the system, the internal energy of this system going to be increased. Let the internal energy of the system is delta U. That delta E, that is change in internal energy. That change in internal energy is equal to Q plus W. This is simply called as first law of thermodynamics. This is nothing but first law of thermodynamics. Okay, what are the different conditions in this first law of thermodynamics? For example, so it is nothing but simply called as law of conservation of energy. Conservation of energy. That means energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but one form of energy is converted into another form of energy. So different cases in this first law of thermodynamics. Those are case 1. If change in internal energy delta U is equal to 0. That is, change in internal energy is equal to 0. That means here delta U is equal to 0 means Q is equal to minus W. Q is equal to minus W. That means the total heat supplied to the system is equal to work is, here is negative, my dear boys. Work is done by the system. That means the total heat supplied by the system, supplied to the system is equal to work is done by the system. Work is done by the system. Okay. Next one. Second case. So here heat absorbed. Heat absorbed is equal to work done by the system. Heat absorbed is equal to work done by the system. Now, second case. If no work is done, if no work is done, means W is equal to 0. If W is equal to 0, therefore delta E is equal to Q. Delta U is equal to Q. That means the total heat supplied to the system is converted into internal energy of the system. The total heat is utilized to change the internal energy. That means the total heat supplied to the system is equal to internal energy, change in internal energy of the system. Okay. Next one. Third case. So if there is if Q is equal to 0, my dear boys, there is no heat is supplied. No heat is supplied. So that means no exchange of heat takes place. No exchange of heat takes place. No exchange of heat takes place between system and surroundings. That means the process is taken as adiabatic process. Adiabatic process. So the process, which is where Q is equal to, that means there is no change in heat energy between system and surroundings. The process is taken as adiabatic process. Therefore, Q is equal to 0. Therefore, automatically delta U, change in internal energy, is equal to work, and that work is taken as adiabatic work. That work is called as adiabatic work. It is very important. So these are the different cases. So that is applicable for first law of thermodynamics. In this first law of thermodynamics, the delta U, which is nothing but change in internal energy, it is nothing but one of the thermodynamic functions. And internal energy is one of the thermodynamic functions. Okay. So this thermodynamic function I will explain with a certain conditions. See here. So for adiabatic process, delta U is equal to W adiabatic Kn. So their change in heat energy is equal to 0. This internal energy, it is the thermodynamic function. To explain the change energy changes, see here, delta U is equal to Q plus W. Delta U is equal to Q. Here, delta U is the change in internal energy. Q is the heat supplied to the system. W is the work done on the system. So we know W is equal to P delta V. P delta V, change in that is change in volume. So therefore, delta U is equal to Q plus P delta V. Delta U is equal to Q plus P delta V. So delta V means change in volume. Change in volume. That means, so let us take a system. Generally, we are taking piston system. So here is a frictionless piston. Initially, we have V1 volume. Initially, we have V1 volume. So work is done on the system. Work is done on the system. So that means that may be piston change. It is V2 volume. V2 volume. So therefore, change in volume is V2 minus V1. That is the final volume minus initial volume. Final volume is V2, initial volume is V1. So final volume minus initial volume, lower value minus higher value. So that means this should be negative. So if this is negative, that is it is equal to delta V. So this is negative, that is automatically work should be negative. Okay, see here. See here. So if delta V, volume is not changed. That means if delta V is not changed, that means piston is not moving above or below. Piston is not moving above or below. That means the change in volume is equal to 0. If change in volume is equal to 0, that means volume is equal to constant for the piston. Volume is equal to constant for the piston. Therefore, so this becomes 0. No doubt this total becomes 0. Now delta U is equal to Q. This Q, it is heat content of the system at constant volume. Heat content of the system at constant volume. Therefore, so delta U is nothing but change in internal energy. Delta U is nothing but change in internal energy. This change in internal energy is nothing but heat content of the system. Heat supplied to the system at constant volume. V stands for constant volume. So in most of the cases we use QV is equal to delta E. Sorry, delta U or delta E both are same. So we are using delta U. So in most of the cases. So that means total heat content of the system at constant volume is equal to delta U. But in our chemistry, most of the reactions that takes place in laboratory area. Laboratory is nothing but a room. In a room, pressure is constant, atmospheric pressure is maintained. So that means all the reactions are take place at constant pressure, not at constant volume. But this term, delta U, is the term, it is applicable only at constant volume. But we are taking experiments at constant pressure. That means it is insufficient to explain the reactions takes place at constant pressure. That means there is a need of another thermodynamic function. That new thermodynamic function, so scientists are described as enthalpy of the system. Enthalpy of the system. So why, sir? Why enthalpy is introduced? So generally delta U is nothing but change in volume. So that means change in internal energy, it is applicable only at constant volume. But most of the reactions that takes place at constant pressure, not at constant volume. That means it is not useful again. It is not useful for our chemical processes. That is why there is a need of another thermodynamic function. So that is named as enthalpy. So enthalpy is nothing but it is applicable for at constant pressure. It is applicable at constant pressure. Okay. So this is very, very important. So now I am going to discuss enthalpy. So why enthalpy is introduced? Because it is not applicable at constant pressure. It is not applicable at constant pressure. Okay. So now our topic is enthalpy. which is indicated by the letter H. Enthalpy H. Okay, it is another thermodynamic function. This one also depends on only state of the system's initial and final state. That's why it is nothing but a state function. It is a state function and also extensive property. State function and extensive property. Okay, what is this enthalpy? What is this enthalpy? So enthalpy, scientists define as, so it is in terms of internal energy. It is in terms of internal energy. That is enthalpy, they decided as it is the sum of internal energy and pressure into volume. This is the definition. It is the definition for enthalpy. Scientists decided enthalpy as like this. H is equal to U plus PV. Okay. Now, so what is H? It is nothing but enthalpy. This U is internal energy or intrinsic energy. So it is pressure, it is volume. So product of pressure and volume. Okay, but we know it is not possible to identify, to calculate exact internal energy of the system. It is not possible to calculate exact internal energy of the system. So we should calculate only change in internal energy. That is why the entire team. So the entire team was something dark barking. Okay. So internal energy. So it is not possible to calculate internal energy. We should calculate only change in internal energy. That is why. So all these values are converted into change term set. That is, change values are nothing but a differentiating term set. Therefore, d of differentiating of H is equal to du plus d of PV. D of PV. That implies dH is equal to du plus, so alternative ending. So at constant pressure, it is dV. At constant volume, it is VdP. VdP. It is a differentiation. But the process takes place at constant pressure. At constant pressure, the process takes place. That means at constant pressure, so dP is equal to 0. That is nothing but P1 is equal to P2. Therefore, P2 minus P1, which is equal to dP, which is equal to 0. So put dP value is equal to 0 here. Therefore, we will get dH is equal to du plus PdV. It is the equation. dH. D means small changes. Small changes, D terms are used. For large changes, delta terms are used because thermodynamics is applicable for large changes. Delta H is equal to delta U plus P delta V. It is for large changes. So it is the very, very important reaction. It is the relation between delta H and delta U. So it is the relation between delta H and delta U. So very, very important. So it is change in enthalpy, it is change in internal energy, it is change in volume. Change in enthalpy, change in volume. Next. Now, but we know P delta V is equal to, because PV is equal to nRT, PV is equal to nRT, therefore P delta V is equal to delta nRT at constant temperature. At constant temperature. Substitute this P delta V value here, therefore delta H is equal to delta E plus delta nRT is the relation between delta H and delta U. It is the relation between delta H and delta U. So what is delta H? That is the change in enthalpy. That is the heat content of the system at constant pressure. What is delta U? That is the change in internal energy. It is the heat content of the system at constant volume. heat content of the system at constant volume. So okay, so therefore, so here is the relation between delta H and delta U. So change in enthalpy, change in energy, change in number of moles. Here delta N means number of gaseous moles of products minus number of gaseous moles of reactants. So delta N, only we should use gaseous moles. So I will explain with equations, please wait. So delta E means the change in internal energy. Delta E means the change in internal energy. So already completed, my dear boys, but most of the students are not perfect in this case. That's why I repeat it. Please wait. Now, with examples, I will clarify the concept. With examples. For a reaction, let us take. See here, if delta N is equal to 0, therefore, put delta N is equal to 0, therefore, delta H is equal to delta N. That means, change in enthalpy is equal to change in internal energy. That is, heat content of the system at constant pressure is equal to heat content of the system at constant volume. Okay, for example, so it is case 1. So, example, N2 gas plus O2 gas gives 2 NO gases. It is a reversible reaction. It is a reaction. In this reaction, this is nothing but products. These are nothing but reactants. So this is the number of moles of products. These are the number of moles of reactants. Only we should use gaseous moles. So if liquids are there, don't consider it. If liquids or solids are there, don't consider it. Only we should use gaseous. Number of gaseous moles of. It is the total number of products. Total number of gaseous moles of products minus total number of gaseous moles of reactants. Okay. Now, so therefore delta N is equal to, so products, total number of moles of gaseous products, so 2 minus, so reactants, this is the reactant, this is, there is a, it is 1 plus 1, it is 2 only. Therefore, delta N value is 0 only. For this reaction, delta H is equal to delta E. For this reaction, delta H is equal to delta E. So, there is the formation of NO from its elements N2 and O2. So, delta H is equal to delta E. That is nothing but total heat content of the system at constant pressure is equal to total heat content of the system at constant volume. Okay. So, like this, we should compare delta H and delta E values. Now, one more example, one more condition. Only we should use gaseous products and gaseous reactants. See here. So case 2, second case. So if delta N is equal to positive, nothing but delta N greater than 0. Delta N is equal to positive, nothing but delta N greater than 0. So therefore we know delta H is equal to delta E plus delta N RT. Delta N RT. So substitute this value greater than 0 means let delta N is equal to 1. If delta N is equal to 1 means delta H is the sum of something delta E plus something else. Delta E plus something else. Therefore, delta H is greater than delta E. So if delta N greater than 0, delta H greater than delta E. So see example. So let us take that is CaCO3, calcium carbonate. It is the solid I am taking. So it is on heating gives CaO solid plus CO2 gas. CaO solid and CO2 gas. Okay. So now I am trying to calculate delta N value for this one. Delta N. Tell me values. So delta N is equal to 1 or 2 or 3 or 3. See here. So it is NP minus NR, my dear boys. Gaseous moles of products minus gaseous moles of reactants. Therefore, so it is a solid, don't consider it. It is a solid, don't consider it. Only we consider this one. That to product value. 1 mole CO2 is there. 1 minus. So in the reactant side, there is no gaseous mass, 0 on it. Therefore, 1 minus 0 is equal to 1. Therefore, delta N greater than 0. For this reaction, delta H is equal to delta En. For this reaction, delta H, that is, heat content of the system at constant pressure is greater than, for this reaction. Heat content of the system at constant pressure greater than heat content of the system at constant volume. Okay, now, so case 3. Case 3. That is, third case, if delta N is a negative, nothing but delta N less than 0. Delta N less than 0. So there, delta H less than delta En. There, delta H less than delta En. So the example for this one is, so that is, there is N2 gas. It combines with 3 moles hydrogen gas, gives 2 moles NH3 gas. It is also gas. For this, delta N is equal to NP minus NR. So NP, it is gas, we consider it is gas, consider it is gas, consider. So product moles 2 minus reactants total moles, it is 3, it is 1, 3 plus 1, 4 N. That is equal to minus 2, that is less than 0. That is less than 0. Therefore, for this case, delta N, delta H less than delta En. Delta H less than delta En. So these are the different conditions. So for the relation between delta H and delta En. So see here, we must use products number of moles, total number of gaseous moles of products minus total number of gaseous moles of reactants. It is products, these are reactants. Okay, so product value, total number of moles of products is 2 moles minus, so total moles of reactants and 3 plus 1, 4 N. So 2 minus 4, which is equal to minus 2, which is equal to less than 0. So because it is less than 0, delta N less than 0. So delta H is less than delta En. So for this reaction, heat content of the system at constant pressure is always less than that of heat content of the system at constant volume. Heat content of the system at constant volume. Okay, so these are the different cases. So for this delta H is equal to delta E plus delta N RTN. It is a relation between delta H and delta En. So all these are first law of thermodynamics. Now I am taking one more condition. So delta H is equal to delta E plus delta N RT. Delta H is nothing but heat content of the system at constant pressure, which is taken as QP. Delta E is equal to heat content of the system at constant volume, which is equal to QV plus delta N RT. So it is also used for this case. Delta H is equal to delta E plus delta N RT is nothing but delta, that is QP is equal to QV plus delta N RT. What is QP? Heat content of the system at constant pressure, which is nothing but delta H. It is heat content of the system at constant volume, nothing but delta En. Delta En. So therefore, which is equal to delta N RTN. Delta N RT. So it is very, very important case. Next one. Or delta QP is equal to delta E plus delta N RT. These are the different ways to express that. Different ways. So now, in a cyclic process, it is important, my dear boys. In a cyclic process, cyclic process means initial point and final point, terminal point are same. The type of systems are called as cyclic process. So delta U is equal to 0 and delta H is also equal to Y star. Y star means delta U is equal to U2 minus U1. U2 means final value. U1 means initial value. So cyclic process, initial is equal to final. That means U1 is equal to U2. So if U1 is equal to U2, automatically delta U is equal to 0. Next, enthalpy also. So final value, delta H is equal to H2 minus H1. Final value minus initial. Here also final value, initial value are same for a cyclic process. Therefore, delta H also equals 0. So whenever cyclic process is observed, automatically we should use delta U and delta H both are taken as 0. Delta U and delta H both are taken as 0. It is very, very important. It is very, very important. Okay. If enthalpy, that is H value, is constant for a process, then it is called as isoenthalpic process. So where the process, then enthalpy value is equal to constant. So there enthalpy value is equal to constant, that is called as isoenthalpic process. Generally, it is for real gas. For a real gas, adiabatic process. Adiabatic process. So enthalpy value is constant. Therefore, this adiabatic process is called as isoenthalpic process. For a real gas, not for ideal gas. So it is for isoenthalpic process. So this is very, very important. So very, very important, my dear boys. So here delta H, that is constant. Enthalpy is constant means delta H is equal to 0. Because H1 is equal to H2, enthalpy constant, H1 is equal to H2. That is why delta H is equal to 0. So whenever isoenthalpic process is used, there H1, that is enthalpy is equal to delta H value is equal to constant. Delta H value is equal to constant. So these are the different terms. These are the different terms used for enthalpy cases. So used for enthalpy cases. So very, very important. Very, very important. Real gas means that doesn't follow ideal gas reaction. PV is equal to nRT. The reaction is called as ideal gas equation. If that ideal gas equation is not, if that ideal gas reaction is not applicable for any gas, that is called as a real gas. That is real gas. So here Q is equal to constant. Q is equal to constant. That means enthalpy, internal energy is not changed. Enthalpy is not changed. See here. So in this case, internal energy is not changing. So only enthalpy value is constant, but not internal energy. So that is why it is called as isoenthalpic process. Now, what are the different conditions in different processes? These are very, very important for our problem solving conditions and for problem solving purposes. See my device. So what are the different conditions? See here, first one, isothermal case. Isothermal means T is equal to constant. T constant means T1 is equal to T2. That implies delta T is equal to 0. Delta T is equal to 0. In this case, because internal energy mainly depends on temperature. The temperature is constant here. That is why change in internal energy delta U is equal to 0. So for isothermal process, delta U is taken as 0. It is very, very important. Delta U is equal to 0. If delta U is equal to 0 from first law of thermodynamics, so we know delta U is equal to Q plus W. That means that is equal to 0. Q is equal to minus W only. Q is equal to minus W. This Q is nothing but reversible work done. It is very, very important. Whenever isothermal process is used, for isothermal process, delta U is equal to 0. If delta U is equal to 0, Q reversible is equal to minus W. Most important relations are during calculations of problems. For isothermal case, internal energy mainly depending on temperature. Internal energy mainly depending on temperature. So the temperature is constant in isothermal cases. Therefore, automatically, internal energy is also constant. Internal energy constant means U1 is equal to U2. Therefore, U2 minus U1 is equal to 0. Nothing but delta U is equal to 0. If delta U is equal to 0, so from the first law of thermodynamics, these terms are conditions. So therefore, Q reversible is equal to W. So it is very, very important in case of isothermal. Okay. Next, for adiabatic process. For adiabatic process, most important one is Q is equal to 0. For adiabatic process, Q is equal to 0 automatically. Next, for isobaric process, that means pressure constant. So isobaric process, dP is equal to 0. Isobaric process, dP is equal to 0. So dP, that is pressure constant means, so QP is equal to delta H. Heat current of the coil system at constant pressure. Therefore, QP is equal to delta H condition is applicable here. Next one, for isochoric process, volume dV is equal to 0. That means a constant volume case. Here QB is equal to delta U. So this is applicable. QB is equal to W. Next, for cyclic process, delta H is equal to 0, delta U also equal to 0. So these are the some compulsory conditions you should memorize. For some compulsory conditions and very, very important. Very, very important. So it is all about your first law of thermodynamics. So some problems are there based on this first law of thermodynamics. So now I am taking some problems based on this one. So see the problem. See here. So note of the problem, my dear boys. 2 moles of an ideal gas . 2 moles of an ideal gas initially at 27 degrees centigrade and 1 atmosphere pressure . So 27 degrees centigrade and 1 atmosphere pressure is compressed. Isothermally. Compressed isothermally and reversibly. Till the final pressure of the gas is 10 atmospheres. Final pressure of the gas is 10 atmospheres. Calculate Q, W and delta U for the process. This is the problem, my dear boys. So very, very, very important model. So number of times asked to be training model is it is number of times asked model. So see here. So in this one, isothermally and reversibly. So because the term isothermally is there, therefore delta U should be equal to 0. If delta U is equal to 0, that implies Q is equal to minus W. That Q is equal to minus W. These are the conditions. So it is isothermal reversible. For our cases, we know W for a reversible process minus 2.303 nRT log V2 by V1. But here pressure terms are used, therefore P1 by P2. Here pressure terms are used, therefore P1 by P2. That is equal to minus 2.303 N value. 2 moles of the gas is taken into 2. I'm trying to calculate value in joules. So I'm trying to calculate value in joules. That's right. R value I'm taking joule values. That is 8.314 into temperature at 27 degrees centigrade. So 27 plus 273 absolute scale. So plus into log initial pressure. How much is the initial pressure? At initial pressure 1 atmosphere to final pressure 10 atmosphere. Final pressure 10 atmosphere. It is the formula. It is the formula. Now the value is minus 2.303 into 2 into 8.314 into 273. That is 300 Kelvin log 10 power minus 1. 10 power minus 1. Altogether the value is going to be positive. How much is the value? That is 11,488. 2 joules. So because R value is taken in joules, the coming answer is the joule cell. Now, it is W, but it is compressed work. But it is compressed work. So compression means work is done on the system. Work is done on the system. On the system, W should be positive. Therefore, our answer W is equal to 1488.2. This much joules is used right now. Because if it is expansion work, it is taken as a negative. If it is expansion work, it is taken as negative. Because it is compression work, it is taken as positive. Because it is compression work, it is taken as positive. First of all, I am trying to calculate for W. Finally, I concluded that because it is compression work is always towards the system. Towards the system is nothing but positive. That is why final value we should take. Whether it is negative, we should take it as positive. We should take this one as positive. This is W. So, but Q is equal to minus W. That implies Q is equal to minus W. Therefore, Q value is minus 11488.2 joules. This is Q value. This is W value. So this is delta U value. These are the 3 values for the question. These are the 3 values for the question. So this is very, very important. So very, very important. Yes, we get after solving completed problem. Multiplication and something else. So log 10 base 10 is equal to 1 NE. So calculate that one. Enter after multiplication, we will get this answer. So it is very, very important. Next one, one more problem. Log 10. It is not possible to me to explain. See here, log 10 power minus 1 means log 10 to the base 10. So minus 1 log 10 base 10 any. Log 10 base 10 is equal to 1. Now the value is minus 1. That is in mathematics. It is not my problem, my dear boys. Yes, I will upload. Please wait. Next problem. .8 grams N2 gas at 300 Kelvin and 20 atmosphere pressure and 20 atmosphere pressure was allowed to expand isothermally against a constant external pressure. Constant external pressure of 1 atmosphere. Calculate delta U, Q and W. Calculate delta U, Q and W. So this is the problem given to you, my dear boys. See here. Listen carefully, it is important. In this problem, the most important term is against a constant external pressure. That is very, very important. Whenever you see this statement in your problem, that process is taken as irreversible process. That process is nothing but irreversible process. So isothermally against a constant external pressure means that is taken as, that is we consider as irreversible process. It is the clue whether it is reversible or irreversible. So it is the clue term. Okay. So against a constant external pressure, therefore we must calculate W is equal to minus P external into V2 minus V1. It is the formula to calculate work irreversible. So we must apply this formula. So to apply this formula, so against this P external value is given to you, that is 1 atmosphere. P external is equal to 1 atmosphere. That is given to you. But we don't know V2 and V1 values. We don't know V2 and V1 values. So no one is given to you, whether it is gas, is ideal gas or non-ideal gas. So no term is given to you. We treated this one as ideal gas. So we take this nitrogen gas as an ideal gas. So by using this assumption, we will calculate that V1 value and V2 values. So see here, initial case. We know PV is equal to nRT for ideal gases. Now I want to calculate V1 initial volume. That implies V1 is equal to nRT by Pn, initial pressure. Now here 2.8 grams is taken in. Therefore, weight of nitrogen N2 is equal to 2.8 grams. Gram molecular weight of N2 is equal to 28 grams. Therefore, number of moles of N2 is equal to weight by molecular weight, which is equal to 0.1. So that is used here, 0.1 R value. So it is in atmosphere. We are going to calculate volume in liters. So I am trying to calculate volume in liters. Use liter atmosphere value for R value. So that is 0.0821. This is in liter atmosphere. R value liter atmosphere. At a temperature, initial temperature 300 Kelvin is used. So 300 by, so initial pressure. So the pressure and 20 atmosphere pressure. So 20 atmosphere pressure. So solve this problem, we will get V1 value. So that is equal to, how much is the value? Already solved this, 0.123 liters. 0.123 liters. It is V1. Similarly, you should calculate V2 also. So V2, that is final volume. V2 is equal to nRT by P2, final pressure. So final pressure is how much? It is 1 atmosphere. Therefore, number of moles 0.1, volume, that is R value 0.0821, temperature at 300 Kelvin by final pressure 1. Final pressure 1. So we will get the answer, that is 2.463. It is liters. So it is V2 value, it is V1 value. We calculate delta V. Delta V is equal to V2 minus V1. That is 2.463 minus 0.123. That gets 0.64. It is 0.62 minus 4, 413. That is a 2.340. 2.340 is a change in volume. Apply this value for this calculation. Therefore, W irreversible is equal to minus P external. That is the final pressure. Final pressure. That is 1 into V2 minus V1. That is this one ending. So 2.340. That we get minus 2.340, which is in liter atmosphere said work. That is in liter atmosphere. If you want to convert that value into joules, multiply that value with 101.3 volts. So that is equal to minus 2.340 into 101.3. The value is in joules. Because 1 liter atmosphere is equal to 101.3 joules. 101.3 joules. So finally we will get the answer. That is 237 minus joules value is available. So this is a work, irreversible work. So why it is taken as irreversible work? It is against a constant external pressure. Whenever the term against a constant external pressure is there, automatically we should take that one as irreversible. So that is work irreversible case we should use. So this is W irreversible. That is W calculated because it is isothermal. W delta U is equal to 0. Q is equal to minus W. Therefore, so because it is W this much, therefore Q is equal to minus W, that is minus of minus plus 237 joules. 237 joules. This is Q value. This is Q value. This is W value. This is delta U value. Because isothermal, delta U value is equal to 0. So this is the way to solve the problem. It is the way to solve the problem. It is very, very, very important. Number of times asked for model sending. Number of times asked for model sending. Most important. So there, please wait. I will. Once again, I repeat it. I will clarify your doubts, whatever it may be. I will clarify your doubts at the end of session. At the end of session. That is from 3:30 on. Against means automatically irreversible case. At 3:30, I will clarify your doubt. Please wait. So next one and most important one. Next property, next concept is important concept. See here. Heat capacity, which is indicated with letter C, which is indicated with letter C, and heat capacity. So what is this heat capacity? Heat capacity. Let us take a description. So take a system. Here is a system. At the beginning, let the temperature is 30 degrees centigrade. The temperature of the system is equal to 30 degrees centigrade. Okay. Now, supplied some heat to the system. I supplied some heat to the system. Okay. So if this heat supplied to the system, what about the temperature of this system? Is this increased or decreased, my dear boys? Now I supplied something heat to the system. Is the temperature of the system is increased or decreased? No doubt increased. So now temperature is increased. Actually 30 degrees centigrade is there. So after supplying this Q amount of heat energy, now the temperature is raised to 50 degrees centigrade. Let it be, let it be. Now, how much is the heat temperature difference is there? Now I am going to calculate temperature difference, delta T. Temperature difference is delta T. Delta T is equal to 50 minus 30, which is equal to 20. This 20 heat, 20 degrees centigrade temperature is only due to this Q value. Am I correct? That Q rises the temperature of the system by a value of 20 degrees. By a value of 20 degrees. That means if something more energy of heat is supplied, if something more heat energy is supplied, more is the rising temperature. Am I correct? So something more heat energy is supplied, more amount of heat is raised. Okay, that means the quantity of heat supplied to the system is always directly proportional to the change in temperature of the system. Is this notation acceptable or not? Is this notation acceptable or not? Is this correct or not? Delta T is nothing but change in temperature. More is the temperature is applied, more is the heat supplied. That means more is the temperature change. More is the temperature change. So that means the heat supplied to the system is always directly proportional to rise in temperature. Rise in temperature. That is the difference of temperature. Rise in temperature. So it is the basic condition for heat capacity. See here. See here. So finally, we have quantity of heat supplied to the system is directly proportional to rise of temperature. Rise in temperature. Now, so by removing the term that is proportionality, there is a constant required, that is Q is equal to some C into delta T. Some C into delta T. Okay, so C is nothing but, what is this C? C is nothing but proportionality constant. And also it is nothing but heat capacity, which is also called as heat capacity of the system. So did you catch my point, my boys? So what is this heat capacity? It is nothing but proportionality constant. I will explain the definition. Please wait. So we know something heat is supplied. That supplied heat energy is useful for the system to rise its temperature. So that delta T is the rising temperature. Delta T is nothing but T2 minus T1, the rising temperature. So by removing that one, something constant is applied. That constant is generally proportionally constant. Here we call that one as heat capacity. Heat capacity. Now from this relation, C is equal to Q by delta T. From this relation, C is equal to Q by delta T. If delta T is equal to 1, if delta T is equal to 1, automatically this C is equal to Q. As per your physics definitions, just like your physics definitions, what is this heat capacity? Heat capacity is the amount of heat required to rise the temperature of the system by 1 degree centigrade. So heat capacity is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of the system by 1 degree. By 1 degree. That is called as heat capacity of the system. So what is heat capacity? So heat capacity is equal to, it is the amount of heat required to rise the temperature of the system by 1 degree centigrade or 1 degree Kelvin or through 1 degree. That is called as heat capacity. Heat capacity. Okay, so here heat capacity is inversely proportional to delta T. It is very, very important, my dear boys. So heat capacity of the system is inversely proportional to rise in temperature. Heat capacity of the system is inversely proportional to rise in temperature. More is the rise in temperature, heat capacity is very less. So less is the heat capacity, rise in temperature is very high end. It is very, very important. Okay. Now, what are the units of this heat capacity? So we know C is equal to Q by delta T. Q is nothing but heat end. Heat is nothing but one form of energy. Energy has unit joules, so it has joule units. Delta T is generally expressed in Kelvin centigrade. That is the units are joule Kelvin inverse or joule degree centigrade inverse. These are the units of heat capacity. These are the units of heat capacity. Okay, so see here. So how much quantity of gas is taken? See here. But up to now, is this clear? Up to now, is this clear? It is about heat capacity. Now I am taking heat capacity at constant volume and heat capacity at constant pressure. So see here. Now that is, let us take the system. Let us take the system. Here gas is taken. Generally we are applying for gas training. So gas is taken. To this, something heat is supplied. So that is helpful to rise the temperature of this gas by delta T. This Q is directly proportional to delta T. It is what I told just now. It is what I told just now. Now, how much mass of gas is taken, sir, here? How much mass of? I don't know the mass of the gas. Certain mass of the gas. It is nothing but certain mass of the gas. Okay. For example, if the mass of the gas is taken as 1 mole, if the mass of the gas, the quantity of gas is taken as 1 mole, that means the heat required to rise the temperature by 1 degree centigrade is nothing but heat capacity. That heat capacity for 1 mole of the gas. That heat capacity is nothing but for 1 mole of the gas. That 1 mole of gas, that heat capacity is considered as molar heat capacity. Now heat capacity is calculated for 1 mole of the gas. Now heat capacity is calculated for 1 mole of the gas. That heat capacity is called as molar heat capacity. It is very, very important. This molar heat capacity may be calculated at constant pressure or at constant volume. So these molar heat capacity values may be calculated at constant pressure and constant volume. Okay, so see here. So my dear boys, previously I don't know how much mass of the gas is taken. That is simply called as heat capacity. That is simply called as heat capacity. Now I am taking 1 mole gas in the system. So no doubt heat capacity once again applicable. Something heat is required to raise the temperature by 1 degree centigrade. That is heat capacity is called as, it is now for 1 mole of the gas. That 1 mole heat capacity is called as molar heat capacity of the gas. Molar heat capacity of the gas. It is for 1 mole. It is for 1 mole. For example, if gas is taken for 1 gram gas is taken, 1 gram gas is taken. See here. Now I am taking not 1 mole. It is 1 gram gas is taken. Now this heat capacity applicable for 1 gram gas, which is called as specific heat of the gas. Specific heat of the gas. So see, so for unknown quantity of the gas, that is called as heat capacity. If the gas is taken as 1 mole gas, that means heat capacity is calculated for 1 mole gas, which is called as molar heat capacity. So instead of 1 mole gas, I am taking 1 gram gas. 1 gram gas, which is called as specific heat of the gas. So it is for 1 gram gas, It is for 1 mole gas. For unknown gas, that is just heat capacity. So these are the differences between heat capacity, molar heat capacity, and specific heat capacity. Specific heat, this is also called as specific heat capacity. So specific heat or specific heat capacity. Okay, so these are the different terms. So Karthik, please stop that. Dheeraj, please down your hand. Right now I don't open anyone. Please down your hand. Otherwise I will remove you. Otherwise I will remove you, Dheeraj. Please down your hands. First, listen carefully. Okay. So what is the differences here? See, if gas is certain mass of gas, I don't know the mass of the gas, which is called as heat capacity. If mass is 1 mole gas, that corresponding is called as molar heat capacity. So if gas is 1 gram gas, that is called as specific heat capacity. All these are same, different quantity of gas. So generally we know Q is directly proportional to delta T. That is Q is equal to C delta T. That implies C is equal to Q by D delta T. It is heat capacity. If this heat capacity is calculated at constant volume, see here, if that heat capacity is calculated at constant volume, so heat capacity or molar heat capacity, no problem, is at constant volume, then C is taken as a CV, Q is taken as a QV, and therefore CV is equal to QV by delta T or dt. So molar heat capacity at constant volume, my dear boys. CV is nothing but molar heat capacity at constant volume. Molar heat capacity at constant volume. That is CV. CV is equal to QV by dt. That implies QV is equal to CV dt. It is for 1 mole gas. Because it is 1 mole gas, it is molar heat capacity. It is molar heat capacity. Okay, so this is very important. QV is nothing but delta ura. So that implies we know QV is equal to delta ura. Delta U by dt. QV is equal to delta U, that is delta U by dt. So instead of delta, I am taking dV1, du by dt. CV is equal to du by dt. Next, if Q is calculated at constant pressure, that is taken as a QP. Now that heat capacity is called as heat capacity at constant pressure. So molar heat capacity at constant pressure. So from these, we calculated, we taking that one as Cp is equal to Qp by dt. Qp by dt. So, but Qp is equal to delta H now. But Qp is equal to delta H. Therefore, Cp is equal to delta H by delta T or dH by dt. Here Cp is called as molar heat capacity. Molar heat capacity at constant pressure. So at constant pressure. So it is at constant volume. Sorry. This is at constant volume. So from this, delta H is equal to Cp delta T or dH is equal to Cp dt. So these are the frequently used relations. So this is applicable once again for 1 mole gas. Applicable for 1 mole gas. For N mole gas, for n mole gas. Therefore, that is QB is equal to NCV dt. QP is equal to NCP dt. So these are the frequently used relations. These are the frequently used relations. Okay, all these relations are very, very helpful while solving the problems. Please be careful. Today's class is the utmost important topic. Very, very important topic. This heat capacity total concept is applicable for your advanced point of view, not for mains. The heat capacity topic is applicable for your advanced concept study, the advanced topic study. So generally mains not available. Okay, so QB is the heat capacity at constant volume, QP heat capacity at constant pressure. So okay, so that is CP, CVA, CP, CV. Heat capacity at constant volume, heat capacity at constant pressure. Now, what is the relation between this CP and CP? Now, what is the relation between CP and CP? That is, heat capacity is a constant pressure and constant pressure. Wait. So, QV means heat at constant volume. Heat supplied to the system at constant volume. QV is the heat supplied to the system at constant volume. Here, heat supplied to the system at constant pressure. Okay. So, now the relation between CP and CV. Relation between CP and CV. There are two relations. Now I am taking one relation, first relation. What is that first relation? See here, we know H is equal to U plus PV. H is equal to U plus PV. So for 1 mole gas, molar, because molar heat capacities are taken, for 1 mole gas, PV is equal to actually nRT. So N is equal to 1, that is why PV is equal to RT. For 1 mole gas, PV is equal to RT. Substitute this RT value here in PVN. Therefore, H is equal to U plus RT. H is equal to U plus RT. Now differentiate this equation. This equation with respect to T. Differentiate this equation with respect to T. Therefore, dH by dt is equal to du by dt plus Rn. dt by dt. So it is equal to 1. Therefore, dH by dt is nothing but Cp, which is equal to du by dt, nothing but Cv plus Rn. So Cp is equal to Cv plus R, which is generally we treat it as Cp minus Cv is equal to Rn. So it is the frequently used relation. So that is the relation between molar heat capacity of the gases at constant pressure and constant volume. So Cp minus Cv is equal to R. So it is most important relation, my dear boys. So this derivation in IP point of view, 4 marks question. In IP point of view, 4 marks, but this relation is very, very important. Heat capacity at constant pressure minus heat capacity at constant volume is equal to Rn. It is for 1 mole gas. For n mole gas, nRn. For 1 n mole gas, it is for nRn. Okay, so it is heat capacity. So it is applicable for 1 mole gas. For 1 mole gas. So this is the relation Cp minus Cv. Here, my dear boys, see here, Cp is always greater than Cv. It is very, very important. That is why this ratio, this subtraction value is always positive value. Cp is always greater than Cv. Why, sir? Why Cp is always greater than Cv? Cp means heat capacity of the gas at constant pressure. Cv means heat capacity of the gas for 1 mole gas at constant volume. See here, this is the current system. This is the system. Here, some 1 mole gas is taken. 1 mole gas is taken. Here I am taking CV value. That means volume becomes constant. Volume is not changed. The total change, the supplied heat energy, QRA, the supplied heat energy is totally utilized to raise the temperature of the system, temperature of the gas. But volume of the system is not changed. That means, so to rise the temperature of this gas by 1 degree centigrade, something heat is required. Just listen carefully. Something heat. Now I am taking CV current. It is for CV case run. That means a constant volume case. Now CP nothing but constant pressure. Constant pressure. So see here. In case of constant pressure, let us take. This is the piston. Here 1 mole gas is taken. 1 mole gas is taken. Something heat is applied. This applied heat energy is utilized to rise the temperature of this gas by 1 degree centigrade. And also to maintain the pressure constant, something heat energy is utilized to move the piston upward direction. Some additional energy is required because pressure should be maintained constant. To maintain constant pressure, so automatically pressure is increased. The increased pressure is applicable to decrease the pressure. This piston is moving upward direction. That means some heat is required. Some additional heat is required to raise the piston upward direction. That means something additional energy is required. Therefore, so it is a Q. This Q is greater than that of this Q1. Here volume change is not applicable, but here volume change is applicable to maintain the pressure constant. Therefore, CP value is always greater than CV value. CP value is always greater than CV value. So now the first relation is CP minus CV is equal to R. CP minus CV is equal to R. It is first relation. It is the relation between CP and CV. Now I am taking the ratio. So second relation, CP by CV, higher value by lower value. The ratio is called as Poisson's ratio, which is indicated the symbol gamma. That is symbolized with gamma. So CP by CV is equal to Poisson's ratio, which is called as gamma, which is called as Poisson's ratio. Okay. So now this gamma value depending on atomicity of the gases. The gamma value depending on atomicity of the gases. For monoatomic gases, for diatomic gases, for polyatomic gases, these values. So my dear boys, the derivation for this CP by CV is equal to gamma. The derivation is no need. This is derived in your physics. So please learn there. I'm just using this relation. CP by CV is equal to gamma. So this is called as a Poisson's ratio. Poisson's ratio. Okay. So what are the gamma values? Please be mind. These values you should mind it. So that is the gas. So CV value and CP value and gamma value. Gamma value. Okay. The gas is monoatomic gas. Monoatomic gas. That means atomicity is equal to 1. Atomicity means number of atoms in one molecule. So the best example for this one is noble gases. Noble gases, helium, neon, argon, those gases are all monoatomic gases. Its molecule contains only one atom. So like this, all noble gases are monoatomic. For these noble gases, CV value is 3 by 2 R. It is 5 by 2 R. 3 by 2 R, 5 by 2 R. Now gamma value is CP by CV, that is 5 by 3 N. That is equal to 1.66. It is equal to 1.66. It is for monoatomic gases. Second one, for diatomic gases. For diatomic gases, that is example hydrogen, chlorine, O2 like this. one molecule contains two atoms, two hydrogen atoms, two chlorine atoms. That is atomicity 2 only. So and polyatomic gases with linear shape. Polyatomic gases with linear shape. That means more than two atoms are there. There is CO2 gas. In CO2 gas, carbon double bond O, double bond O. The shape of this CO2 molecule is linear, like this. Having more than two atoms in the molecule, but the shape is linear. So this case and this case, so CV value is 5 by 2 R. It is 7 by 2 R. Now it is 7 by 5. The 7 by 5 means 1.4 value. It is 1.4 value. Next one, that is gamma, which is equal to Cp by Cv. Okay. Third case, for polyatomic gases with non-linear shape. Non-linear shape. Example, that is SO2 gas. SO2 gas. Its shape is sulfur diode. It is angular molecule. It is angular molecule. Like this, polyatomic molecules with non-linear shape. So that is, it is 6 by 2 R. Cv is 6 by 2 R. Cp is 8 by 2 R. Now gamma is equal to Cp by Cv, which is equal to 8 by 6, 4 by 3, which is equal to 1.33. These are the values. See here, for monoatomic gas, atomicity 1, its value is 1.66. For diatomic gases, atomicity 2, it is 1.4. It is for polyatomic gases, it is 1.3. That means as the number of atoms per molecule increases, this gamma value decreases. Therefore, gamma, that is Cp by Cv value, is inversely proportional to atomicity of the gas. Gamma value is inversely proportional to atomicity of the gas. As atomicity of the gas increases, gamma value decreases. So that means this gamma value is very, very helpful to identify the atomicity of the gaseous molecule set. So the important application of this gamma value is to find out the atomicity of the molecule set. Okay. So this is the way to calculate this Cp by Cv value, R. So all these values, derivations, you will learn in physics set. Those derivations are not integrated here. So these values are using here, just using. These are not derived here. Those derivations are available in your physics. Set. Okay. So these are very, very important. Next, the same way, just my dear boys, see here. This heat capacity values for different processes. What is the heat capacity? Process and heat capacity. Heat capacity value is always in between minus infinity to plus infinity. Heat capacity C value is in between minus infinity to plus infinity. See here, for isothermal process, means temperature constant. Here rising temperature is not rise. That means its value is taken as infinity. For adiabatic process means no heat is supplied, no heat changes are taking place. That means heat is not applied to the system. That means heat capacity is equal to 0. Next, for isobaric process, the heat capacity is taken as Cp. For it is isobaric, that is constant pressure. Isochoric, that is constant volume, that is taken as Cv. That is taken as Cv. These are the conclusions finally. So in which process heat capacity is how much? In which process heat capacity is how much? So these are important relations. So now, so mixture of two or more gases. So what happened? Their heat capacities. When two gases are going to be mixed, see here, gas 1 and gas 2. Number of moles of gas 1 is N1, number of moles of gas 2 is N2. Its Cp is Cp1 and Cv is Cv1. Its Cp is Cp2 and Cv is Cv2. Now these two gases are mixed. Now mixed heat capacity Cv is equal to Cv mixed is equal to N1 Cv1 plus N2 Cv2 by N1 plus N2. So it is very, very important formula, my dear boys. It is a relation when these are mixed. Similarly, Cp mixed is equal to N1 Cp1 for first gas, N2 Cp2 of the second gas by N1 plus N2. So these are the relations when gases are mixed. Mixed heat capacity at constant volume, mixed heat capacity at constant pressure. So these are the frequently used terms. Okay. So now up to now we completed internal energy, that is delta U, and the change in enthalpy, that is delta H, heat capacities. So heat capacity at constant volume, constant pressure, these are completed. Some relations towards this heat capacity. Now I am going to calculate. So now I am going to calculate last topic, and please wait just 5 minutes, I will complete. Last topic, I am going to calculate change in enthalpy and change in internal energy. How to calculate change in enthalpy? How to calculate change in internal energy? Okay. So now this change in enthalpy, change in internal energy calculation. Measurement of delta U and delta H. Measurement of delta U and delta H. Okay. So how to calculate this delta U? For this purpose, bomb calorimeter is used. So for this purpose, bomb calorimeter. So what is this bomb calorimeter? I will draw the diagram, please write. So bomb calorimeter is used. Here, volume is equal to constant. That means the entire process takes place at constant volume. Therefore, here we calculated value. So heat content of the system at constant volume. Therefore, the value calculated in this bomb calorimeter is equal to delta U1. So bomb calorimeter is useful to calculate the heat content of the system at constant volume. Nothing but that is delta U is calculated by delta, that is bomb calorimeter. If you calculated bomb calorimeter delta U value, so we know delta H is equal to delta U plus delta N RTN. It is a relation between delta H and delta U. If you know the delta U value, by using this equation, you will calculate delta H value. That means bomb calorimeter is only useful to calculate delta U. That delta U is used to calculate delta H with the help of this equation. That means indirectly this bomb calorimeter is used to calculate both delta U and also then by using this equation delta H. Now what is this bomb calorimeter? This bomb calorimeter, that is So there is a bomb and calorimeter in your 10th class. Calorimeter is there. In your 10th class, calorimetry is there. So see here. So first of all, I'm taking a bomb. Bomb is nothing but it is the conducting walls, my dear boys. So this is the vessel made with, let it be copper. Is copper good conductor of heat or not? Yes, it is in your 10th class. Is copper good conductor of heat or not? Yes, it is good conductor. It is the conducting wall. It is the conducting wall. Next, those, that is the delta U value or internal energy is used to calculate. So that is placed in a bar. It is a metal pan. Here, a bowl is there. So whose delta E value or delta U value you want to calculate? So either it is solid or liquid. Place here. Place here. Okay. So now there is an arrangement to burn this material. To burn this material. Okay. So it is almost case. Now the entire this arrangement is placed in another outer vessel. Another outer vessel. It is filled with water. It is filled with water. So it is connected to another vessel. It is non-conducting material. So it is isolated system. Isolated. Isolated. There is an arrangement to identify the temperature of this water. So by using this thermometer. So there is another arrangement to stir the water. It is the stirrer. It is the stirrer. It is entire arrangement. So in middle, at middle, it is called as Bambra. So whose chemical? That chemical whose delta U value you want to find out is burned here. Is burned here. Because here volume is not changed. That means the constant volume is maintained. Okay. So something heat is burned because of burning. This from material, some heat energy is released. That heat energy is transferred with this copper. So into the water. That means before temperature and after temperatures are completed. So to complete the reaction, stirring is constantly taken. So at which temperature difference is taken constant? By using that, you should calculate delta T. So you should calculate delta T value. By using Q is equal to CT, C delta T. So you calculate QB. So QB is nothing but delta U. So therefore, delta H is equal to delta U plus delta nRT. So this is the way delta U and delta H are calculated with the help of bomb calorimeter. With the help of bomb calorimeter. Okay. So this is about your bomb calorimeter to calculate delta U and delta H.